Good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse. Coming up shortly, workers of the Ghana Airport Company Limited kick against what they describe as a grand scheme to privatize the Kotoka International Airport. Also, the World Health Organization acknowledges there is emerging evidence that the coronavirus can be spread by tiny particles suspended in the air. And the National Democratic Congress describes as sexist and misogynistic comments of NPP members about John Mahama's running mate. We're live on DSTV channel 421, on GoTV channel 144, and on YouTube where we stream live. We're also live because on DTT because we are free to air. Join us with your opinions on 05401090009. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're back in a jiffy. We begin with workers of the Ghana Airport Company Limited who are kicking against what they describe as a grand scheme to privatize the Kotoka International Airport. The group believes government through the Aviation Ministry has plans to hand over the Ghana Airport Company Limited to a Turkish investor, hence their decision to stand up against such alleged proposed plan.
For ya nitu mo mi mi gina ni obi ba ye mi gina ni wo ga court ya e wo to ala do ya koko e tese se ni mo fe mo ni gbe yi de ko la me ni ese aga ta ma ho nitu wo e ha taki bi e mo la ka mo ka nu nu la kwa ka la nu ka ye ni ko lo ka la ye gogo ti ni yo mami ni di la ameka ma to amesite ameligali amenofa no fe o amabi ani ya koko to ala do etese se no e ka ba bia ne do to ole koko do
for our fathers and our fathers who built this airport. Kotoka was just here. Kotoka said we all must eat from here. Kofo came to build his part. 2003 commissioned. It stayed. We are here. Phase 2 came on, and then phase 3, which is Terminal 3. Everybody say to the airport or detriment of Ghana. That is nice. What is happening? What is happening? If you say you are not selling, now what are we doing now? Go to Sharp News on Facebook and see. They say the airport is sold for what? 70 million, 15 years. I beg, this is my son. This is where I eat, and this is how I feed them. I beg. If whoever or whatever plans they have, they should leave this airport because that is the only job we know.
So, as workers, what is your plan? What are you going to do?
We are stating this straight. That one, to the head of our company, and then to our minister. If our father, who is the head here, director, knows that he loves his children, anything that comes, he will call our union and call us as well. And address to us. We have no clue. It means whatever it is to them and then the ministry and then the government. And this is not fair to us. So we are saying, MD will go. The minister, I think he's already on his way. MD Pakwa is going. And staff are saying, that's how my mission.
Your agitations and uncertainties and worries has gotten to the National Union. And that is why we are here. And I'm not here alone. I'm here with my national chairman. And also my deputy general secretary. Now, we all know that the issue we are confronted with is not new. Somewhere last year, the issue came up, and it is about the privatization or giving out of the airport, part of it, whole of it, section of it, to private entity. And as a union, when some of these issues come up, of course, as stakeholders, we must be concerned. We had responses and had assurances that what was going on was not privatization. Initially, there was nothing. Then later, it was not privatization. And as time went on, it seemed to have died out. But now, at least we have something that we have seen. And the processes that has been outlined for that. I must say that when we heard of the latest information, we quickly arranged for a standing negotiating committee. But remember last year, we told you our position and our stand, and we believe that the message went far. Indeed, management honored the standing negotiating committee meeting and briefed us that yes, there is an MOU to initiate and start discussions on some proposals that has come from a private entity expressing interest in having a partnership with GSCL in the management of the airport and other activities. What I can tell you for a fact that no agreement has been signed. No agreement has been signed. But there is a proposal that has come. Now, what do we do under these circumstances? As a union, we know what to do, because it is not the first time we have been confronted with such a situation. So, as responsible citizens of this country and a responsible union, we are using the structures and all the avenues and resources available to us to deal with this matter. Good for us. As I said, no agreement has been signed. The processes that has been outlined includes an engagement with the union for us to state our position on the matter. So what we want to assure you is that we will not sit down for anything to be done to the detriment or disadvantage of you workers. Because we know how you have told, to bring the airport to the status in which it is. If it comes to the management of the airport, we know that you are doing your possible best under the circumstances you find yourself. So, in order not to preempt our position on the negotiation, in order not to preempt our position on the negotiation, we have heard you, your executives have told us. So when we go to the negotiation, we are going to advance your position. And that position is that the airport can be run by Ghanaians, and it will be run by Ghanaians. And therefore, we will allow the process to go on. We are going to represent you as we have always done and more. So please, this meeting, this union meeting, is just to assure you that we are going to provide the leadership that you need. As I said, it's a negotiation, and we don't do negotiations in the media. We don't do negotiations on the streets. We will go and then we will present your position, because we believe that our position is strong, and we are going to advance it for the benefit of the airport and you, our members. So that is the assurance we want to give you.
Away from the airport, the World Health Organization has acknowledged there is emerging evidence that the coronavirus can be spread by tiny particles suspended in the air. The airborne transmission could not be ruled out in crowded, closed or poorly ventilated settings, an official said. If the evidence is confirmed, it may affect guidelines for indoor spaces. An open letter from more than 200 scientists had accused the WHO of underestimating the possibility of airborne transmission. The WHO has so far said that the virus is transmitted through droplets when people cough or sneeze. Watch this.
Discussed and collaborated with many of the signatories of the articles that you have mentioned over the last few months. And indeed, we discussed the available evidence that has been discussed in these pieces. And also, we received contributions from many of the signatories of these pieces. We acknowledge that there is emerging evidence in this field, as in all other fields, regarding the COVID-19 virus and pandemic. And therefore, we believe that we have to be open to this evidence and understand its implications regarding the modes of transmission and also regarding the precautions that need to be taken.
Would you like to add something, Maria?
Just to say, thank you, Benedetta. Just to say that, yes, we have been engaged with this group since April. When they first wrote to us on April 1st, and we've had an active engagement with them and with many of the signatories on this through different networks. And as we have said previously, we welcome the interaction from scientists all over the world, from many different disciplines. Many of the signatories are engineers, which is a wonderful area of expertise, which adds to growing knowledge about the importance of ventilation, which we feel also is very important. We have been talking about the possibility of airborne transmission and aerosol transmission as one of the modes of transmission of COVID-19, as well as droplet. We've looked at fomites, we look at fecal oral, we look at mother to child, we look at animal to human, of course, as well. And so we are producing a scientific brief on summarizing where we are. We've been working on this for several weeks now. And we've engaged with a large number of groups, epidemiologists and clinicians, IPC specialists, engineers, mathematical modelers, to try to consolidate the growing knowledge around transmission. But we have spoken about the importance of all of the different potential modes of transmission. This is a respiratory pathogen, and so it is important that what we know fits into the guidance that we have, which is why a comprehensive package of interventions are required to be able to stop transmission. This includes not only physical distancing, it includes the use of masks where appropriate in certain settings, specifically where you can't do physical distancing, and especially for healthcare workers. So our focus on the use of masks, of course, is for healthcare workers, and to use airborne precautions where you have those aerosol generating procedures. But we're also looking at the possible role of airborne transmission in other settings where you have particularly close settings where you have poor ventilation. So we will be issuing our brief in the coming days, and that will outline everything that we have in this area.
Dr. Gabriel Benaku is chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Health. He joins me via Zoom on this development. What does this new development mean?
Yeah, good afternoon, Aisha and your team, and good afternoon to the various ministers who are involved in the COVID-19 fight, and the National Task Force and every health worker in the country. We thank them for the continuous effort. What they just mean is that we have to double out our effort. What it also means is that our scientists must be supported to also come out with otherwise. What it also means is that we need to ensure equity and accessibility of the testing so that we can use that as the basis to plan ahead in Ghana. And that is why the Ghana Coalition of NGO Health over the last 2 months has been calling for the institutionalization of a control program for coronavirus. That is the surest way to go. I'm not a virologist. I cannot talk much about the mutation of the virus, but I can talk about community and the sociological aspect of the public health. When you have a community spread and your effort was focused on a certain limited mode of transmission, and you have intensified your effort there, and there's a new finding that try to nullify the effort you have made, what it just simply means is that you need to get back to the drawing board. We need to update our national guidelines on the COVID-19. We need to scale up interventions across the country, and we need to get more people involved in this fight.
This comes as a worrying news, but is our policy geared towards protecting people from airborne spread as it is right now?
No, even right now with this new discovery, what it means is that you and I, even in the studio, you are not safe. What it means is that when you are after your news and you get down and you are moving, you are not safe. That's the implication of this new discovery, especially when you have to meet over 100 people in a particular time. Then you have asymptomatic people who can be coughing and who can be releasing the droplets or can be releasing some vapor or air that could have potential of suspending. And that could also have the implication of you getting access to it on your surface, either by your forehead or by your hands or even by your dress when the condition is ripe. So all that I'm saying is that we need to re-strategize. The protocols that Ghana developed with this new development must be modified. We must add some strategies to it, and we must update it to ensure that various institutions are also getting this update and influence them to be able to enforce the protocol. We think that it is very important for a national program for coronavirus.
Well, you talk about how dangerous it is for workplaces, for instance. Is it still safe to have children gather in poorly ventilated classrooms given the development?
Even before that, it was not safe, and we expected the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service, to have put in place a lot of infrastructure modification in the various schools, which has not been done now. And with this new development, we don't have any power to say that schools should be closed down, but the Ministry of Health and Ghana Education Service, for that matter, Ministry of Education, must have a closed-door meeting with the virologists and some experts, including we, the civil society, the Ghana Medical Association, the nurses and midwifery, and other stakeholders. Let's look at what are the hotspots, what are the most likely places that can really harbor the virus, and what can we do as different groups. Let's get these things back again, just like the way we started in March. We slipped somewhere along the line, but all is not lost. We can still come together, and we can really reinvigorate the spirit of every Ghanaian, and we can support the call as the president used to do, so that we can all minimize our movement. Then we can also minimize gathering. Then we can also minimize political activities that will actually cause other serious health implications.
With many offices, I can say almost every office in Ghana has air conditioning. Now, with the new development, it means that with air conditions on, it makes it even quicker for one person to transmit to another. Or even if the virus is in the air, it makes it quicker for somebody to inhale. How do we keep staff safe in this environment?
Yeah, Asha, I'm not a virologist. I do not have much capacity on that, whether the air condition can influence the spread of the virus. But what I do know is that an infected person within the workplace can really infect both the surfaces and within the work environment. And that could be very, very dangerous. And so we need to really update our policy guidelines in the fight against COVID-19.
WHO is still studying the situation. You talk about the fact that you're not a virologist, but what do you recommend for Ghana as a country, in trying to keep our citizens safe?
Yeah, Asha, to be honest with you, if I'm the president, I will ask for a face mask, not a nose mask in this country. That is the first point I will say because of this new discovery. I will just ask for a face mask so that you can only see, not your nose and not your mouth should be out. That is the first one. If I'm the president, I will ask for a suspension of our schools. If only we want to save our children. There can be much control at homes than in schools because the teachers are not also safe there. If I'm the president, I will ask for the National Mental Health Authority to roll out their expertise in all the regions and districts to provide psychosocial services. Everybody is anxious. People are getting depressed, including the politicians, including frontline workers. So we will need psychological medicine that can really keep people calm, that will minimize the health workers to make mistakes. You see that they are getting it more because they are getting depressed and they are frustrated and they are making mistakes. So they are getting the virus. So that's the implication. So we really need to change a lot of things if only the politicians, or for that matter, the president will listen to the plight of Ghana. There's nothing wrong if we can suspend our schools just to make sure that we are safe, we are in control, and then we can get back to school.
I'm grateful for your time. Gabriel Benanko is with the Coalition of Health NGOs. Meanwhile, some residents of Old Fadama are asking government to do mass testing for the coronavirus in the slum. Ghana's largest shanty town, home to over 100,000 people, have so far recorded only 2 cases. Some residents fear the numbers may be a result of lack of testing. JoyNews' Justice Bedo has been to the slum to find out how people in the area are coping with social distancing protocols in an area where the concept is almost impossible.
Ghana's COVID-19 case count is surging by the day. But it seems that news is yet to reach people here. Old Fadama. Nearly all prevention protocols are absent here. No social distancing, no face masks.
Me pay by me ref into my phone. Me ref into my phone p. Next time we piano that p.
Where's your nose mask?
I said I kept it in there.
But it's supposed to be on your nose.
No, I remove it. I'm going to pray.
Mami say me nose mask now those masks no equal na which time
na me wear blue.
It was in this building behind me that the very first case of coronavirus was reported here in Old Fadama, and that was as far back as April this year. Since then, only one more case has been reported in this community of over 100,000 people. For some here, it may just be a case of luck. They feel this community has been spared the venom of this pandemic. But for others, it is just a case of living in the land of unknown because they are not testing anybody here yet. They may just not know how many have the virus and how many don't.
Imoru Abdul Karim has lived in Old Fadama since 2007 and says he's never been terrified as he is today.
We don't do the test here. And as we don't, how will you know that these people have, these people don't have? Because we have a lot of people in our sisters, a lot of our sisters who they work at Makwala there. So they work with a lot of people who even travel to outside Ghana and come back to Ghana. But because of this thing, they don't believe that there's sickness in Ghana here. They said they will not do the testing. So we can't even just find that the thing is in Agwese here or it's not there.
He fears the numbers in Old Fadama may well be more than is officially known. For him, until this happens, it's hard to tell who and who have the virus.
The Kaya people, a lot of people live in one particular room. Because mostly when you get a room like this, you can say 15, 20, 25, even more than that. Some even live up to 30 people in one particular room. So there is no distance, there's no distance, everything is just close here. So my fear was that as they said, we should have social distance and a lot of so on. We don't have it here, and we don't have rooms here.
Many of the people in Old Fadama are settlers who move around quite frequently. And before COVID-19 struck, everyone feared they could be one of the country's communities that would be hit the hardest. Over 4 months after the country's first case was recorded, it seems this shanty town may well have been saved from the storm. Only time would tell. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Old Fadama.
That's what they say, eh?
And when we come back on your election headquarters, National Democratic Congress describes as sexist and misogynistic comments of NPP members about John Mahama's running mate. When we return. Welcome back to The Pulse. And on your election headquarters, the NDC has condemned comments by some members of the governing NPP that Mahama's running mate, Nana Jenopoku Agyemang, cannot be effective even if his flag bearer wins the upcoming elections. NPP General Secretary Yaw Boabian-Samoa and Majority Leader Seiche Mensah Bonsu have both described Professor Opoku Agyemang as incapable of a vice presidential office. Here is Communications Officer Sami Jemfi speaking at a press conference here in Accra in response to their comments.
I will deal with some other backward and misogynistic comments that have been made by key functionaries of the New Patriotic Party against the choice of Professor Nana Jenopoku Agyemang as running mate. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, apart from the sexist and baseless comments of Yaw Boabian-Samoa, the similarly disgraceful comment by the majority leader in parliament that Professor Nana Jenopoku Agyemang is not capable of being described as president of the Republic of Ghana is one of the most backward and misogynistic statements by a high personality who should know better. Comments such as these are reminiscent of other similarly shameful statements made by President Akufo-Addo when he suggested that Ghanaian women are not dynamic enough at a conference in Canada sometime last year. The worst part of this embarrassment was that he made the comment at an international women's event of all places, where he was scolded and schooled almost immediately by a fellow panelist on stage. Such sexist comments have unfortunately but predictably come to define President Akufo-Addo and his party, the New Patriotic Party. What is even more unfortunate is the reckless abandon with which Yabuabian Samoa and Oseche Mensah Bonsu attacked Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman without any factual basis. It is quite jarring and so discouraging to people, especially women, to see how such a high-flying woman is attacked with such venom by politicians who could have been her students, and indeed, some were her students. It is very sad, ladies and gentlemen, to see a political party in the 21st century deeply rooted in 16th century primitive views about women. But to any woman listening and watching to us this morning, like Salamat from Peace FM, do not lose courage. Look at the accomplished role model, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman, and be encouraged and inspired to pursue your dreams. You can grow up to become anything you want to be, even the Vice President and the President of the Republic of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we again heard other female voices from the NPP talking about virtue. How rich in irony.
The party has also been debunking some claims by the NPP at the recent press conference.
Firstly, they claim that Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman cancelled teacher trainee allowance is false. The decision to replace the teacher trainee allowance with student loan was a cabinet decision and not a ministerial decision. As you may be aware, the actual Mahama government, to ensure equity and equality among tertiary students, converted allowances for teacher trainees into student loans in order to abolish the dreaded quota system of admissions into colleges of education and increase enrollment and teacher opportunities for the youth of this country. As such, students who did not receive allowances got their loans under this policy. This was a decision President Mahama himself took responsibility for. This policy, ladies and gentlemen, which was not properly understood by many, was exploited by then candidate Akufo-Addo and the NPP for cheap political capital and electoral gain, with a promise that they will restore the allowances if elected. The sad reality today is that instead of the full restoration of the allowances as was promised by President Akufo-Addo and the NPP, teacher trainees are being served with a partial restoration of the allowances, which is being paid in a rather very erratic manner and for only 8 months instead of 12 months, as was the case before the conversion. In fact, our checks this morning show that the Akufo-Addo government hasn't paid any allowances to teacher trainees since February 2020. And so the allowances they claim to have restored is currently in arrears for over 4 months. Concerning her plea for clemency for the Muntie trial, the good professor only signed the petition to mitigate the harsh sentences of the 3 convicts after they had served 3 weeks in prison and paid 10,000 each as fines for scandalizing the Supreme Court. Her decision to sign the petition to request for a reduced prison term for the convicts doesn't in any way mean that she endorsed the unfortunate comments as the NPP would have us believe. It must be noted that the woman we are talking about is a responsible and caring mother of 3 and a loving grandmother. Good mothers are known to forgive their children when they go wrong and after they are disciplined. Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman did not only support the punishment of the Muntie trial through due process, but she also identified with the repentance and remorse shown by the young men and sought lesser punishment for them. Her plea for lesser punishment for the Muntie trial was therefore not a vice, but an act of compassion and a virtue. It is worthy of note that that was not the first time the country was witnessing such calls for lesser punishment for those who were found to have scandalized the court by their unguarded utterances. You may recall how lawyers for both the MPP and the NDC and several Ghanaians pleaded for clemency for the MPP Samia Wuku and the late Sir John, may his soul rest in perfect peace, when they were found to have scandalized the Supreme Court during the famous election petition case. Our friends in the MPP suggesting that all those who pleaded with the Supreme Court for clemency for Samia Wuku and Sir John, when they were cited for contempt by the Supreme Court, endorsed their reckless comments. That certainly cannot be the case.
Director of Elections for the NDC, however, says there was chaos at various registration centers and complete disregard for COVID-19 protocols. He says it is mind-boggling how the EC chairperson and the president are exposing Ghanaians to danger.
From the beginning of the exercise, we have witnessed a complete disregard for COVID-19 safety protocols. While we observe that the wearing of face masks is being strictly enforced upon entry at the registration center, social distancing and washing of hands are not being observed. And indeed, the president himself went out to Abosokai, and you all saw the crowds of people that were following him. It remains mind-boggling how, in the face of a deadly pandemic, where Ghana's case count keeps skyrocketing by the day, President Akufo-Addo and the Jane Mensah-led Electoral Commission will recklessly expose Ghanaians to the risk of COVID-19 infections. It is sad that even some EC officials did not have adequate protective equipment. Unfortunately, the EC appears to be blaming the general public for non-adherence to the safety protocols in its public statements on the ongoing registration process. After assuring the population that it is his responsibility to protect us, President Akufo-Addo is now saying that we must take personal responsibility for our safety.
Elvis Afriankar also alleged the EC wants to use its district offices as VIP registration centers for government appointees so they can be free from getting infected with COVID-19.
The EC has been inconsistent in following its own schedules for the voter registration. The schedules that were published to the general public have been changed on the ground, resulting in a lot of confusion, which is adversely affecting the registration exercise. And mind you, it is not for fun that the schedule is published in a gazette. The gazette is a legal document that states the specific areas where the registration is going to take place. So you publish your schedule in a gazette, then subsequently you start varying it. People plan, I know many people who move from Accra to various regions to go and register, only to get there, and on the ground the schedule has been changed. And there are legal issues, and we are speaking to our lawyers about that. But beyond that, it creates a lot of inconvenience and uncertainty, and people don't know what is going on. The arbitrary change in the schedule by the EC officials in the Upper East region, for instance, has resulted in a court order by the Bolgatanga High Court restraining the regional director of the EC from changing the earlier advertised date and schedule for registration in the region. And it's important that ordinary citizens who feel inconvenienced by this can proceed to the High Court. Again, the schedule so publicized by the EC is so complicated that many prospective registrants do not understand it. Public education on the schedules is non-existent. This has resulted in people massing up at various registration centers in other constituencies or polling stations instead of waiting for their turn.
And in the related development, the Commission today launched what it calls a Let the Citizens Know. It's to inform the citizens about work being done by the Commission every step of the way before the December 7 polls. Chairperson of the Commission, Jane Mensah, explains this will hopefully demonstrate transparency and demystify the Commission's work and also remove the veil of secrecy which has characterized operations of the EC.
Is to outdoor the maiden edition of our initiative dubbed Let the Citizen Know, Transparency and Accountability in Motion. This initiative aims at providing the Commission the opportunity to engage with the citizen and inform them about our activities and processes from now until we close our doors to election 2020. It would also afford us the opportunity to receive feedback from the citizens, to answer their questions and address their concerns. The question that has been posed is, why are we doing this? As a Commission, we believe that the citizen should be informed about our processes and activities and about the actions that we take. Indeed, since assuming office in 2018, we have endeavored to bring the Commission to the doorstep of key stakeholders by updating and informing them about our operations and activities. As you may recall, we engaged and interacted with a variety of stakeholders across the country, including religious bodies, traditional authority, the media, civil society, to name a few. It is in that same spirit, that is a spirit of transparency and accountability, that we are gathered here today. We believe that this platform would afford us an opportunity to provide timely information on a regular basis to the citizenry. We are confident that by doing so, we will demystify the operations of the Commission and remove the cloaks of secrecy that had hitherto shrouded our work. We are keen to ensure that citizens are provided with the truth and facts as they unfold. As a Commission, we are determined to open up our processes and promote transparency around our work. It is our resolve to assure the citizen that there's nothing mysterious about our operations, and to let the citizens know that as sensitive as our mandate is, the operations leading to our elections are basic, mundane issues such as registering voters and so on and so forth. We are of the view that providing timely updates to the citizens will help build trust and confidence in the Electoral Commission. This, we hope, will help erase the tensions and suspicions that characterize our work and elections generally. Distinguished friends from the media, this initiative dubbed Let the People Know aims to help us to achieve the objectives I have outlined above. Through you, our dear friends in the media, we intend to engage with the citizens twice a week, that is on Wednesday and Friday, starting today. Using the Let the Citizen Know platform, we will provide citizens with regular updates ranging from the number of persons who register nationwide, to details on male-female ratios, to the number of people who use the guarantor system, and to the number of people who use a form of identification, and so on and so forth. In short, we are keen to provide you with the facts as they unfold on the field and to let you know what the situation is regularly. We believe that by so doing, each and every one of us as citizens would be able to collate and have an idea, a fair idea of the number of people who have registered under the 2020 voter registration exercise. We believe this should not be secret, and each and every one of us as citizens is entitled to that information. And as we go along in all our various processes, we will bring you timely, relevant information and answer your concerns and questions. To you, our media personnel gathered here, we consider you as our bridge to the citizenry. You are a gateway to the public, and we hope and trust that you will be accountable to the citizen by presenting them with the facts and evidence as they are laid bare here. We trust that in carrying out your duties as seasoned journalists, you will put Ghana and no other entity first. We have no doubt that you understand the times in which we find ourselves. This is an election year, and already the tensions and suspicions are high. It is therefore important that you offer objective reportage on issues that transpire here. You have a responsibility not to use your platform and this platform for sensationalism. We, that is you and us, owe it to the citizens to present the facts and the truth as they unfold in this very room. We view you as our partners in the enterprise of informing the citizens on the plain facts and the truth. We believe that we are in this together, and the role we each play will have a bearing on the future and destiny of our dear country, Ghana. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, we should each find ourselves on the side of truth and justice.
And as you know, one of the concerns about the registration exercise that have come up is overcrowding, which is being experienced in Accra and Tema and elsewhere. Well, the Commission says it is taking steps to address that with the introduction of its queue management system. The Deputy Chairperson in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, says the challenge of social distancing is not with the perimeter of the registration centers, but beyond that perimeter. Mr. Tete also has been speaking about the newly acquired BVR machines, which has become subject of discussion.
You will recall that the Electoral Commission started the nationwide registration exercise on the 30th of June. We have completed the first batch of the first phase, and we are now on the second batch of the first phase. And it is important for the Commission to brief the media on what has transpired so far, in essence, an overview of the registration exercise so far. Before we embarked upon the registration exercise, the Commission undertook publicity in various forms to drum the whole exercise to the citizenry when and where we are going to do the registration. Among others are TV promos, radio promos, docudrama, posting of educational posters, etc. And we also wish to say that for the first time, the Commission has translated its street announcement into so many Ghanaian languages, which includes Dagbani, Twi, Dagari, Sisala, Gan, Ewe, etc., etc. We also have to take stock by looking at the performance of our registration officials. They have been very efficient and effective, and this has actually translated into the number of applicants that are registered in a day. They are very fast, they are very skillful, and this has actually led to a smooth registration process. Again, we also have to look at the performance of the equipment that the Commission acquired. And we have also seen for ourselves the robust and then the fast nature of the BVRs that the Commission acquired. In this case, you find out that The speed of the BVR kits has translated into the number of applicants registered in a day. In some of the centers, we are registering as many as 280 plus, because they are robust, they are user-friendly, and they are also very fast. This is a deviation of the past equipment, which were characterized by faults and non-performing nature. So far, we have encountered some few challenges. However, let me highlight on some of the achievements with the first batch and the second batch that we are almost about to complete. The registration environment has been very peaceful. The equipment has also been functioning well. And we also have our officials almost always reporting at the registration centers on time. However, the few challenges that we have actually had so far or encountered is difficulty in observing the social distancing by applicants. And then we also initially had insufficient information on the movement plan put up by the Commission. And as usual, the overwhelming numbers of applicants at the centers. Due to the enthusiasm that the people, excuse me, due to the enthusiasm of the people to get registered. The overcrowding is mostly being experienced in Accra and Tema, and the Commission is taking steps to deal with that situation. We'll come to that. With insufficient information on the movement plan, what the Commission has put in place to address the issue is that the movement plans have been put on our website, on social media, the national dailies. We've also given them to the political parties and the security agencies. And then the schedule of registration teams have also been posted at the registration centers. And then district officers have also been asked to engage street announcers to educate the general public on the dates of the registration teams. And the district officers have also been hosted by radio and FM stations to educate the general public on the movement plans. With the challenge of social distancing, what we have also observed is that within the perimeter of the registration center, that is not much of a problem, but beyond the center, that is where the challenge really is. So we have instructed the security men at the centers to help in that direction. Nurses who are operating the thermometer guns, which the Ghana Health Service assisted us with, are also helping in that direction. And the Commission has also asked district electoral officers to hire extra chairs, because the idea is that when they sit down, they don't actually get crowded at a particular place. And the Commission is also continually reminding its operatives and all those who come to the center to abide by the safety protocols. The Commission has also provided appropriate PPEs, and it has also intensified its publicity on the need to observe the social distance, and most importantly, the queue management system, which has been instituted by the Commission to deal with the issue of overcrowding at some registration centers.
Pressing calls for the suspension of the ongoing registration exercise, EC Chairperson Jen Mensah and her deputy in charge of corporate affairs, Dr. Bosman Asari, says if that call is to be adhered to, then the country might as well suspend the December 7 polls.
One of the key stakeholders in elections in Ghana this morning issued a statement on the observations they've made over the past 6 days. I just want to take a question of what they had to say in the statement. So it says, and I'm paraphrasing, that they observed some level of laxity in the respect of COVID health and safety protocol, and also are concerns raised by the Ghana Medical Association calling on governments or the Ghanaian people to hold you for consequences that will arise at the various registration centers. Would you still say it is prudent to go on with the ongoing registration exercise?
We think at this stage of the process, we don't think it's appropriate to come and answer that question. Is it prudent for us to continue with the one we are mandated to do? I don't know if people are going to ask you, is it prudent for you to eat at this time? So please, media, we want you to support what we are doing. It doesn't suggest that you can just ask. GMA can say whatever they want to ask. But please, when you come here, this is our platform to project the work the commission is doing. I don't think it's appropriate for you to ask us, is it prudent to continue with our mandate?
Before we ask that question, we should be asking ourselves whether we should stop the election or whether we should not conduct the election on the 7th of December. There are processes that lead to an election, as I mentioned. The registration process is one of such. I believe we've mentioned on many, many platforms why we are doing what we are doing. So it is not appropriate to make that known here, because I think that has gone out. But there are processes that lead to an election. And the processes include registration that will bring people ensure people gathering at a particular place. It involves an exhibition where people will check the register to ensure that their names are in there. It would involve people gathering at a particular place. And I think that the question that you should be asking, or the information that you should be giving is to provide us with feedback to make the processes better. Because the elections will come on the 7th of December, and we must do our work, and we must prepare to get there. And so, we would like for you to help us with feedback, to feedback how to improve upon our processes. Of course, while still asking your questions. But if we ask the questions, should we stop? Then I think we should also put aside and go to bed and say that the election should not come on the 7th, and that it should be postponed one more year.
To other stories, a disqualified NPP candidate in the recent parliamentary primaries of the NPP in the Bekwa constituency of the Ashanti region, Kwesi Amofa Agyemang, says he's ready to contest as an independent candidate. Lawyer Amofa disclosed that he's going to defeat Jose Wusu. He tells Adom News correspondent Isaac Nomanyo that the decision is as a result of the people in the constituency's unwillingness to register for voters' ID due to his disqualification. He made the declaration at a media conference stating his readiness to retain the seat for the NPP, though as an independent candidate. Lawyer Amofa says he is still a member of the NPP and will campaign massively for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo come December 7.
My people have appealed to me to contest for the parliamentary seat. I have listened to all of them and have come to the conclusion to contest as an independent candidate. All the promises by the incumbent MP have not been fulfilled. I have decided to heed to the calls of my constituents.
I can say, registration no cry. 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 I can say,
Also, many of my people have refused to register for the voters' ID unless I contest. We do not want President Akufo-Addo to lose any votes in this constituency. I appeal to all of you to go out there to register and vote for me and President Akufo-Addo.
Na amanfo nyina omo se omo nko register no omo tie masem no omo ko register no omo to aba ma me no omo to aba so ma president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Still on the NPP, persons alleged to have assaulted an NPP agent at the registration center in their Khan constituency and others suspected to be non-Ghanaians in the process for getting registered for the December polls have been admitted to bail after they were arraigned before the District Magistrates Court at KJB on Monday. Two of the suspects connected to the assault case have been admitted to a bail amount of 10,000 Ghana cedis only with two sureties. Correspondent Peter Senyo has more in the following report.
4 other individuals are also on bail on suspicion that they are not Ghanaians. Immigration officials on duty at the Tabotoji Registration Center are said to have pulled them out of the queue on suspicion that they are not Ghanaians, according to the facts presented to the court. The suspects were picked up on Friday and Saturday, respectively, but were kept beyond the mandatory 48 hours, which the court reminded the prosecutors of Supreme Court's decision to arraign for sittings even on Saturdays in such matters. Wives of 2 of the young men came visiting after the 4th day. They said they have missed their husbands. The suspects have been admitted to 1,000 Ghana cedi bail term and passport-sized pictures submitted to the courts. Victor Kwajogan Adaudu is the counsel for the suspects. He has been speaking to JoyNews.
So as a duty and as a son of the soil, it is my duty to also make sure that my people register and also go around. So it was in the course of it that it came to my attention that some of the people within our community, especially the Ewes who live here, there had been suspicion that some of them are Togolese. And they've been pulled out of the queues that they cannot register without even asking them their citizenship, proof of citizenship or anything. And I think some were arrested on Friday by the immigration who pulled them out of the queue from Tabon Toji. And I think that is why from Friday till today, I deemed it necessary to come that. And from their own fact, it is just a suspicion. It is not that they saw them crossing border or they live in Togo. They live in Ghana. Everybody knows them within the communities, and I thought it was something that the court has also agreed with me to graciously grant them bail for us to come back.
So you think the immigration officers erred in judgment?
I think that they should have exercised some restraint and go a little bit extra mile so that they could ask from the community whether they know them and they live within the community.
He thinks those who have not lived very close to border communities would often get identity issues twisted.
You could see that we don't have a dedicated barrier or a wall that divide Ghana and Togo. So you find in the same town, one of the towns you find, we have 2 chiefs. One chief lives at the side of Togo, but the one chief lives at the side of Ghana. And they are the same king and king. And I think that one of the good things that should open our eyes is the porous borders that the documentary Joy FM did, the multimedia did sometime. You could see in a town, the border is in the middle of the town. How do you do this? I believe that is why when we have our Ghana card, we have passport, we have all those, you can identify. But if people who have ordinary station in life, how would they acquire all this? It's a gradual process.
Peter Senu for JoyNews.
The National Peace Council has urged the two major political parties to adhere to electoral rules and regulations for the voter registration exercise to proceed peacefully. National Chairman Professor Emmanuel Asante has been speaking with leaders of the New Patriotic Party and National Democratic Congress in Asawase constituency on the rising tension in the ongoing compilation of a new register. Nana Sensor Mensa has more in the following report.
The Peace Council chairman toured some registration centers in the Asawase constituency, during which he also raised concerns about social distancing breaches. He says a lot of education is needed to ensure registrants conform to social distancing protocols.
I'm sure that the EC should continue to educate people. The new queue management system is good, but whether the people have really understood it is another matter. I think the queue management system is something that will really ensure the social distancing that we are talking about. It's intended to do that. But if you look at the way people, they are maintaining some kind of social distance. You go to some places, you see some form of it. But I think we need to educate people the more to understand that COVID-19 is a reality, and that we should be very, 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 very careful about COVID-19,
Professor Asante later admonished the political leaders to exhaust the laid-down electoral rules if they have any concerns, rather than take the law into their own hands.
These things are to be expected. There is no way that you're going to meet political parties like NDC, NPP, and expect that they will all be in agreement. But getting from all of them, apart from the counter-accusations, we realize that all of them want the registration to go on. They want peace to prevail. We've spoken to them that they should try as much as possible to maintain peace, and that if they are not happy with it, they should go by the rules and make their complaints to the appropriate bodies. Once these have been done, we believe that we'll be able to move forward. Nobody should take the laws into their own hands, and there should be no bloodshed whatsoever because of registration and because of the election. After all, what is it that we are seeking to do? We're doing this to elect people who would represent us to ensure the development of our nation. This is not a matter for us to fight about.
Asawase has been flagged as a hot spot since the registration began last week. The council is, however, confident meeting with political parties will ensure peace prevails. Representatives of both parties responded to the council's admonition.
But I would advise them that once they have agents, they should try and make sure that we follow the due process. Channels of grievances are there. Challenge forms are not there for nothing. They are not there for ornamental purposes. They are not there for any other thing but to challenge in due process. So we should follow those channels for peace to prevail. We want free, fair, and peaceful registration and election in 2020. And I hope, inshallah, we will get there. But the throwing of stones on the fence and trying to create the impression that Asawase is on fire, there is no peace.
And that was your election headquarters on the Pulse. Remember, we are live on digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. We're also live on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. We're back shortly with more on the Pulse. Welcome back to the Pulse. The rest of our stories. The Ghana Education Service has begun investigations into the unrest at the KNUST Senior High School. Deputy Director General for the service, Dr. Kwabena Ben Patando, says they expect to receive a report from the Ashanti Region Director by early next week to appropriately take action against those who breached the GS guidelines. Armed police were brought in on Tuesday to restore order after students of the KNUST Senior High School went on a demonstration over the death of one of their colleagues on campus. They accused the school authorities of leaving the boy, who complained of stomach upset, unattended to for almost 3 hours in the care of his colleagues due to fear of COVID-19. Speaking on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV, Dr. KB Tando said the complaint is being investigated, but had this to say to the student.
Ghana Education Service is not going to countenance this type of a behavior from students. And so those students who were involved will be disciplined according to our policy. Because it is not allowed and it is not something that we are going to countenance, that students can take matters into their own hands. They are growing up to be in society. And in any society you live in, you don't take matters into your own hands. We are going to ask our regional director, because it's our regional office that will begin that investigation. We would ask for a report as quickly as possible. Today is Wednesday. We are hoping that over the next few days or the next few working days, as reports come in, that they will begin their investigation. This is clear. It's a matter of how was the response. They should be able to complete such investigation in a few days. This shouldn't be weeks on end. And so we are hoping that hopefully by the early part of next week, we would have at least received a report at the Director General's office for review, and then the necessary actions to be taken.
Dr. Tando says his outreach has resolved to improve upon the communication, especially to parents whenever there is a confirmed case of COVID-19 in a school. He admits there was some delay when dealing with the Accra Girls Senior High School outbreak.
Like you said, it's a learning process and it's a learning curve. And we are strengthening our communication with parents in all schools, especially when there is a case or a suspected case. To ensure that parents will receive information not from other sources but directly from the school. Conversations with the Director General and communication going to schools is that as soon as there is any attempt to even isolate because of a suspected case, parents should at least be given some information that this is the situation, health authorities are in place. But yes, we have learned some lessons around the communication. Our press release came out on Monday evening when the news had already broke. But while we are not excusing the gap in communication or the communication delay, there was a health situation that we needed to make sure the health officials handled. And so that shifted our attention onto ensuring that that situation was under control. We, of course, are able to juggle more than one ball at a time, but at that particular time, we knew that we needed to ensure that the students were safe. Of course, you have young 17 and 18-year-olds. It's nerve-wracking. So in terms of the internal communication, that happened, but of course, we could have done a lot better in terms of our communication to parents.
But which other schools have reported cases of COVID-19?
Yeah, what I can confirm is that we have a number of cases in a few schools. We all do know the Accra Girls case. We know that there was some communication confusion around a school in Konongo with 1 or 2 cases. And then we have one school, particularly that I visited personally in Ahafo, that also had 1 case confirmed. As I speak to you this morning, those are the cases that I am aware of. They don't amount to 13, but we receive daily reports, and we have not received this morning's report from Ghana Health Service. And so I can confirm that we have a number of cases, but I don't know if they are up to 13.
Of course, the Deputy Minister, Dr. Yao Educhu, mentioned this. He said, among others, that, for instance, in Fanspin School in the Central Region has 2 confirmed cases, Odogono Senior High Schools, Konongo, Wesley SHS.
Yes.
Had also 3 confirmed cases, and Accra Girls, of course, having 6. Are we on top of the COVID situation?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is no doubt that we are on top of the COVID situation.
Our man, Kwesi Deborah, has been monitoring events on the KNUST campus and spoke on the AM show this morning. Listen.
UST JHS compound, and the the education regional director is here and is meeting the students. What's happening is that what happened yesterday, she wasn't able to come around. So she came this morning just to interact with the students and also teachers. So she is there at the Honesty Great Hall having an interaction. So we're waiting. When they are done and she's done speaking with the students, we can speak to her. So that's what's happening here at Kenya University right now.
Kwesi, tell us about the atmosphere on campus. How are the students after this event?
Well, Daniel, I've been speaking with some of the students around, and you know what happened yesterday. That's the person who is involved, the deceased, and he's a third-year business student. And she came with she was a day student, and because of the government's directive, he was a boarding student. And what happened was that when he came with a medical record that he's suffering from ulcer. So when it happened, then according to the students, he was neglected, and which resulted in his demise. They were quite angry. They cited issues of the immediate causes and the long-standing causes also. And one of the things that they stated was the issue of the sick bay, because now when government directed that they should come to school, they are supposed to have a sick bay. Now when you go to the school, there isn't any sick bay. And beyond that, since they came to first year, they've been collecting 5 cedis from each student. That's what the students have been telling us. We have not confirmed that from the authorities, but that's what they told us. They'll be contributing 5 cedis every term for the construction of a sick bay. And there's a case where they came and the government has also directed that they are supposed to have a sick bay and they are not having it. So these compounded them. And what happened also yesterday, then they wanted to when they started protesting, that when it was this incurred stages, they wanted the headmistress to come out so that they could speak to her. But she almost ran the vehicle through them, and that's what we got them angry. And they started pelting stones, and that resulted in the breaking of the windscreen of the headmistress's car. So that's what's happened. They are quite calm, but the situation again is because there was rampage on campus, and it resulted in the destruction of activities. They've not had their breakfast. And this is a case where they are having money, but there isn't any canteen, and they're also not having their breakfast. So that's a bit of, though some are calm, some are a bit also agitated, and some also, when I spoke to them, they would want to repeat this whole thing again because they think that things have not been addressed, and if should they sit there for things to go that way, it means that their whole academic, as in academic activities here is going to be disrupted. So they think that it's very imperative that they register their displeasure at this whole thing that the authorities are doing. So Daniel, that's what's happening. Some are calm, some would want to do this again.
So I see some students, for want of a better expression, loitering about behind you. Is it that all the teachers are meeting the regional director and so there are no classes ongoing?
Yeah, absolutely. Since there was disruption of activities, academic activities, and as I told you earlier, that they are having a meeting at the Great Hall, the Honesty Great Hall of Kenya University JHS. Some are there, and they are waiting for the outcome. Some of the students are there. Some, as you can see, they are waiting for the others to come so that they can ask them what happened in there. And earlier also when we were around, we heard them clapping. So we don't really know what happened that resulted in they clapping. So they'll be coming, and these students are waiting for them so that they can interact with them and know whatever happened over there.
And that was Kwesi Deborah this morning on News Desk with Daniel Daze. Now, police in Kumasi have arrested one person in connection with one of 2 fatal armed robbery attacks, which cost 3 lives in 2 weeks. The suspect is believed to be among a gang that robbed and killed a church caretaker at Bantama just after withdrawing money from the bank. Earlier, the pregnant wife and daughter of a pastor were stabbed to death in an attack at their residence at Mpetia New Site on the 20th of June. Ohim Interior has more in the following report.
Command officials say the 2 incidents are receiving urgent attention. Regional Police Deputy Commander DCOP David Ajimanajem describes the attacks as one-off incidents as he assured residents of adequate security.
I have heard people say that in their area, a number of cases, but these cases haven't come to the attention of the police. This particular one has, and we are doing all that we can. There's somebody in custody that has been arrested in connection with that particular crime. Yes, investigations are sometimes difficult in such cases, but we want to assure the public that the city is very safe. People should go around and about their chores and duties without any fear, because we have their backs. But suffice to say that we are working seriously on that case. I hear, unfortunately, the little girl has also been lost, and I'll take this opportunity on behalf of the police administration to express our condolence to both families, the Bantuma and the Ampetia one, and to assure them that we are doing everything in our power to ensure that the cases are investigated and the culprits brought to book. I don't think people should panic. I think a one-off incident.
Residents of Ampetia blames police failure to put to use newly built police station for the insecurity in the area. DCOP Ajem, however, says there are issues to be addressed on the building, though he will not give details. Pending resolutions of the challenges, he wants the public to assist police with information on the culprits in the Ampetia and Bantama attacks.
The fact that a structure has been built doesn't make the place a police station. For example, if it is built and it doesn't have places where we can keep suspects, if it doesn't have places of convenience, for example, it's a place that doesn't have both water and electricity, it will be extremely difficult for anybody to work from such a building. And so these are some of the challenges, but I'm sure there are people in society who have knowledge of it, who know the persons involved, who might have witnessed it. And so we are encouraging all these persons to give us information to help us to bring this matter to a logical conclusion.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyinteria reporting.
The National Commission for Civic Education has said the belief in superstition and conspiracy theories among many residents in the Northeast region is a major challenge to the fight against the spread of the coronavirus.
People in the West Mamposi municipal, some will openly tell you that it's a lie. They just want people just want to chop government money by saying that the virus is there. So we'll normally tell them that don't wait until you see it, then you believe that it is there. Prevent yourself. Prevention is better than cure. Actually, there was a time at Sayo, he picked a friend on a motorbike, even though he looked drunk, but he just meant to frustrate people's efforts. He just told me that, Karachi, what you are saying is not true. The virus is not there. It's not with the people. So government just want to spend money. That's why they say it is there. So realizing that he was drunk and there was no need arguing with him, our commission, we preach tolerance. So if you are preaching tolerance, why can't you torment people? So the one thing is that we are telling the people not to listen to such people who are thwarting our efforts by saying that the virus is not there. So we kept quiet. He made his noise and left. Then I continued my education.
Ghana has recorded over 20,000 cases of coronavirus with over 100 fatalities. The Northeast region has confirmed 6 cases with 1 death, yet many residents still believe they are immune and could not be infected with the virus. Social functions and gatherings such as funerals, naming ceremonies, weddings are still being performed in full force, and only few individuals across the region practice the social distancing protocols and wear
My
masks.
message to our people is that the virus is real. Even though here Even I'll be interacting with the health directorate. But they should just say that since it is not prevalent here, we are safe and we can behave anyhow. And to my Muslim brothers and sisters, some of our Muslims, yesterday I was at the mosque. People, majority actually were using the nose, the mask, to cover their nose and mouth. And then there was space. Just the social distance was observed. But I just want to encourage. There are some mosques in town here. They don't give space. They still stand the way we used to stand and pray, and that is what I have for them. We should be very careful, and that we don't know the one who has it, and when he comes or she comes and enter the mosque, and we get affected, it can escalate, and we will take him by surprise. So to me, I've been telling them that prevention is better than cure.
Despite the challenge, according to the director, the Commission has intensified education campaigns in communities across the municipality with several outreach programs to follow. The director commended government for providing a brand new pickup vehicle and other resources to its office to help the fight against the virus.
When that is why the government has seen the seriousness in combating this virus, and they have resourced our municipal. We are among the 50 municipal and district that has gotten this type of pickups. And it has actually helped me a lot and my staff. For the first phase, we've been to 5 places towards the White Water, that is Burubia, Yana, Mishio, Wumbu, and Tujana. All these villages along this route, we have been to those places to educate the people to know that the COVID-19 or coronavirus is actually real. It's not a myth, it's real.
And talking about coronavirus being real, as the infections continue to surge, countries seem to share similarities in the pursuit of solutions as key people in authority test positive. Today, in our crossover to Germany, we look at what news surveys are saying about the pandemic, the economics, and most importantly, debates on face mask wearing. My colleague Roland Walker has been talking to correspondent with our DW partners, William Glickerft. He first asked him for an update on the German Chancellor's isolation.
Give us an update on the German Chancellor's isolation.
Yes, well, actually, she's coming out of isolation, one could say, because she's making her first trip beyond the German borders since the pandemic began. She'll be speaking in, just about 30 to 45 minutes at the European Parliament in Brussels, basically laying out Germany's agenda for the next 6 months. As you know, on July 1st, Germany assumed the EU Council presidency, so they're going to be having a more say than usual, perhaps, than they otherwise do. On a variety of issues, and she'll be presenting what exactly Germany's priorities are. Of course, first and foremost, coronavirus, both from a public health perspective, but also economically. The European Commission came out recently saying that they expect growth in the European Union to actually be worse than first estimated a few months ago, about 8.5% contraction rather than 7.5%. Due to a slower than expected easing of lockdowns all around the European Union. And of course, there's that huge bailout or stimulus fund that Germany and France are on board with to help the hardest hit states in the European Union. 750 billion euros it could be, tied to the European Union's next 7-year budget. But that's going to be take some hard negotiating to get all 27 European Union states on board. And that, of course, affects the European Union's outward-looking stance, whether it has relations with various African countries or other countries around the world, what kind of money and resources are left over after taking care of the European Union with the coronavirus. That very much remains to be seen. But German voters say that one big thing they want to see Germany take a lead on in the next 6 months is climate change. And that, of course, has impacts far beyond Germany and the European Union to right where you are.
We do know that Germany is one of the foremost countries that decided to ease the restrictions, but over time we've also seen some cutback on those decisions to reduce those relaxations. At the end of the day, we've had some provinces or some sections of Germany also imposing some. Australia, we also do have other countries, New Zealand, and all taking measures. Surveys are important, and we know that a number of them have been undertaken. What are they saying currently? What do they point to?
It's very much a two-step forward, one-step back kind of situation right now in Germany and in many countries all around the European Union, as infection rates generally remain low. But for example, in Sweden, they're higher than ever. Of course, as you know, Sweden was famous or infamous for not taking the kind of lockdown measures that most other countries did, and they're paying the price for that now, both in terms of public health and economically. Germany has outbreaks contained to clusters, but there are other countries around the European Union that the WHO is monitoring very closely, saying that there is community spread. That means unchecked, uncontrolled spread, although the numbers are still very low. So it's a very confusing time right now, because it can be very easy to feel like the pandemic is past us, that we can go back to normal life. But there's still a lot of question about just where the infection rate is and what happens if and when people start traveling over these summer months and then come back to Germany. What are they bringing back with them? What have they maybe brought there? This is something that virologists and epidemiologists are looking at very closely, and why they say that wearing masks is very important, despite some officials at the state level in Germany this week saying maybe we can do away with the mask requirements, which got a lot of pushback at the federal level, saying it is much too soon to be talking about removing masks and going back to full normal life.
We do know Germany is a big country. Indeed, even with Ghana, there's great relationship. Big country in Europe and across the world. But coronavirus is biting hard. And it seems some of its partners, even Germany itself, raising issues about their economy. Recession is also on the brink. We need the sort of leadership that the European Union needs. What can you say about this? What does it mean?
Well, this is a very trying period for the European Union and a very big test for Angela Merkel. Remember, she's going into her final year as Chancellor. She's very unlikely to run for a record term again after 15 plus years in power. So this is going to be her legacy. What can they get done at the European level in the next 6 months? Like I said, whether it comes to coronavirus, climate change, dealing with China, dealing with African states, the relations all around the world, being a bridge between the United States and other parts of the world as those relations get strained. There's a lot of pressure on Angela Merkel and Germany to take a lot of these issues off the list, so to speak. And a lot of disagreement within the European Union itself about just how much help to give hard-hit states by the coronavirus going forward. There's a lot of money on the table, and there's a lot of negotiation left to do.
Now, before we go, in Ghana, wearing masks is now compulsory. It's a law. In Germany, what's the situation? Are people free around not to wear masks, or what do you say to that?
No, masks are definitely required here in Germany. Of course, it's the states, not the federal level, but the states, there are 16 of them in Germany, that decide what exactly the rules are. They are required in shops and public transit everywhere in Germany. But as I mentioned, some states, looking at their low infection rates, are thinking of maybe doing away with them or turning the requirements into only recommendations. But there was a lot of pushback. Jens Spahn, the health minister here in Germany, said that is absolutely not the right way. And those officials that were flirting with the idea of loosening mask restrictions walked back those comments over the last day or two. There is now unity among all of the health ministers around the German state, saying there will not be any decisions on loosening the mask rules anytime soon. So the rules about keeping them on in public spaces when social distance can't be maintained, that is still very much the law of the land, or better said, the laws of the states.
Well, thank you very much, William. And William Gilcroft with DW Partners. And I wish you the best for the rest of the day as well. And that'll be it. Our latest from what the roundup is with our partners, DW and also Germany.
And that was Roland Walker with reporter with our partners with DW, sharing experiences of what the coronavirus pandemic has done to us. Now, that's how we wrap up On the Pulse this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and thanks for watching.